Being born in the mid-80s and being the youngest of 5 kids, I was exposed to a lot of 70s and 80s movies, toys, cartoons, you name it, even though I grew up in the 90s. That's just what happens when you have older siblings. You just watch and follow in their footsteps and go with the flow. Same thing went with video games in my house. By the time 1990 had rolled around, a lot of my friends had the NES, and some had even picked up and moved on to the brand new Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. Me? Well, I was still stuck playing the good old Atari 2600 even in the early 90s. Unfortunately, none of my older siblings cared about video games, so it wasn't until late 1995 when I finally got my Sega Genesis. At that time, the PS1 and Sega Saturn had just launched, and the N64 was on the horizon. It was always like I was a generation behind. At the time, I obviously hated it. While all my friends were playing PlayStation 1, I was playing the Sega Genesis. While they were playing the Sega Genesis back in the day, I was playing the Atari 2600. I had video game envy, what can I say? But now that I'm older, I'm somewhat kinda glad that I experienced that as a kid. It really made me appreciate every single video game out there because, let's be honest, I grew up playing this with a one-button controller. To go from high-score games with horrible graphics to NHL 94, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Gunstar Heroes on the Sega Genesis, it was just mind-blowing to me. It makes me wonder if I would have that same reaction if I grew up with the NES instead of the Atari 2600. But that's a topic for another video though. In this episode, I want to talk about the Activision Anthology for the PS2. Yes, that Activision. The same dudes who brought you Call of Duty and Guitar Hero. Let's take a look at some of the earliest greatest hits on the Atari 2600 for this compilation on the PlayStation 2. So this is the main menu, which I always thought was cool. It pretty much showed what a kid's bedroom would look like in the 1980s. This game actually has some pretty good 80s songs, but I can't play it because of YouTube and the copyright, so I'll go down the list. They got Boxing, great game. I never played any of these games. Commando, amazing game. Baseball, it was actually Pete Rose's Baseball, but I'm sure due to the copyright, they just called it Baseball. Let's see here, Kaboom. If you don't know what Kaboom is, you're just an asshole. Tennis, underrated game in my opinion. Atlantis was a great game. Chopper Command is one of the well-known games. Let's see here, Pitfall. Everyone knows Pitfall. River Raid, top 5 game on the Atari 2600 in my opinion. Let's see here, Moonsweeper, decent game. Decathlon, I played a lot. Enduro, amazing racing game. My sister, who never plays video games, actually played Enduro all the time. Keystone Kapers, great game. Hero, if you watch Metal Jesus Rocks, that's one of his favorite games. Pitfall 2, in my opinion, is the best game on the Atari 2600. I'll get into that later. But all right, so let's start with boxing. So I'm just going to go over some of my favorite games on this. As a kid, I thought these were 2 crabs fighting, but now that I'm older, I realize that it's 2 guys, obviously, but it's a top-down view. Like, that's their nose in the middle. But when I was a kid, I just thought they were crabs. Kaboom, I never grew up with this game, but I played it a lot when I got this. I'm not going to go crazy with this, but like I said, this is kind of like, hey, try to get your high score type of game, as most games were in the 70s. It's a pretty good game. That's pretty much what the graphics are. Nothing crazy. All right, tennis, great game. My sister and I would play this game all the time. For some reason, we would always crack up on how these 2 figures would move. Look, this isn't Mario Tennis 64, but hey, back in the late 70s, early 80s, this was a lot of fun. I mean, you pretty much just had to use the controller to point the ball in the direction. It's kind of hard to describe, but a lot of these games were designed for that joystick. It's kind of hard to play these games on a PlayStation 2 controller. All right, on to Enduro. This racing game is amazing. My sister Katie, who never cared a single lick about video games, would always play this game when we were kids. So it just shows how good this game was. The object of the game, as you can see the number on the bottom, is to get past all those racers. The landscape changes. Like right now it's snowing. I'll show you at nighttime. I always thought this was cool. You can see the headlights. I love that. When I had the Atari 2600, I played it on like a 6-inch black and white TV, so everything was black and white for me. This was Pete Rose's Baseball. My brother and I played this non-stop, and I'll show you all the pictures. There you go. You got like a slider. That's a curveball, so they're going to hit it. The fielding was actually really good, but I felt the fielding was better with the joystick. But see, that was a fastball. So for an 8-bit game, This is the best baseball game on the Atari 2600. And that's me batting, and I just cracked a home run. My goal is to do a video on this game one day down the road because I think this is the best baseball game on the Atari 2600. And actually, it's probably more fun than most NES games. So, all right, on to River Raid. This is a classic. If you own Atari 2600, this is a must own. I mean, this is like the definition of like having an arcade game at your house. I mean, I was so used to the NES, but I could imagine that when this game came out, if you own this, it was like, holy crap, I'm playing this. It was almost like having Super Mario Brothers 3 for the first time, in my opinion. This game, it didn't really blow my mind when I was a kid because, you know, I would go over to my buddy's house and we would play NES, but like, if all you knew was the Atari 2600, that game was amazing. Hero is a very popular game. If you watch Metal Jesus Rocks, you know, he uses that card as his intro. I never even heard of that game until I started watching his channel. But I played this a lot, and it's actually a really fun game. But he did mention that if you're playing this game, you need the Atari 2600 controller. It just plays. That's the way the game was designed. So, and it's kind of tough to play. See, I accidentally dropped a stick of dynamite, and it's very sensitive on a PlayStation 2 controller. Or honestly, I'm playing on a PlayStation 3 through the backwards compatibility. Oh man, Pitfall 2. This game holds a special place in my heart because this was the first video game that I had ever beaten. I remember putting the score on my bedroom door being like, on this date, I beat Pitfall 2. Fun fact about this game is that there's a special chip, kind of like how they did with Star Fox with the Super Nintendo, but there is a special sound chip. That's why the music is so great, and that's the music that I'm using in the beginning of this video, but I still remember this game, man. I know jumping down here, there's a bar of gold. If I jump here to the left, I will miss all the enemies. See? Still got it. I still remember this game. All right, Keystone Kapers, man. This game is so hectic, but it's so fun. I'll show you. This is what the first level is. You know, as you can see that there's absolutely no enemies. You know, real simple. The object is to catch the guy running away. If you look on the bottom, that white dot is the prisoner, and you're the black dot trying to catch him, and you have the 3 elevators in the middle in case you need to go up and down the levels. But I'll skip to, I think it's like level 7. I'll show you. It gets really crazy. All right, so here we go. As you can see, there's like 20 million things going on the screen right now. You got flying shopping carts. You got airplanes coming at you where you have to duck 3 times. So every time you duck, you slow down. And that's what makes the game harder, is that you have all these obstacles. For some reason, I can never get past those 2 pink bars. I don't know what it is. I'm always good at jumping over the shopping carts. So my goal is to one day beat this game because there has to be an ending because, let's face it, it's an Atari game. There's not that much memory. So there's only so many enemies they can put on screen, but I refuse to look it up. And one day I keep telling myself that I'm going to beat this game because I've been playing it since I was a kid and I refuse to give up. I will beat this. I might do a video on this game one day down the road, but overall, guys, this compilation is fantastic, especially if you're not familiar with the Atari 2600 and you want to get into it. These are fantastic games. There's tons of other compilations with Atari games, you know, on the Nintendo Switch, Xbox 360, etc., you name it, but this is a good start. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching, and comment below as to what your favorite Atari 2600 memory is. I would love to hear it and know about it. Thanks for watching, guys.